Welcome to Death and Aliens, an in-depth look at horror and sci-fi TV from two friends who vaguely know what they're doing. I'm Courtney.
I'm MK.
I forgot what I was saying halfway through that statement. I'm glad it finished.
It all came out correctly.
Thank you. How are you?
I'm so fucking tired that I literally, as I was sipping that wine, was like, has anything happened in my life that I haven't talked about on this podcast? I don't think so. Um,
No.
no, no, it really hasn't. Um, the new episode of Doctor Who came out today with David Tennant, but I haven't watched it yet because I was busy all day.
I'm so
Um,
behind.
yesterday, I woke up at 11 a.m. Watched 3 episodes of Taskmaster, watched an episode of Stargate, took a nap, watched half of a football game, and then went to dinner. And that is what I would like all of my days to be forever.
I would also like that to be all of my days, but I'd like to alternate Taskmaster with Holiday Baking Championship.
Absolutely.
But everything else
Um,
would stay the same.
oh, I know what I was going to talk about. Well, it's the movie that we watched on Thanksgiving after dinner. Um, it's a new Netflix Christmas movie called Best Christmas Ever.
Is it
Um,
good?
it is. It stars Brandy.
She was at the parade
Oh,
in a beautiful
good.
pink dress.
Um, I love it. This is not a plot spoiler at all, but at one point during the movie, Brandy's character said, "Well, Santa Claus is coming to town." And I literally leaned over to Dan and I go, if this movie does not end with Brandy singing me that song, we will have wasted 2 hours of our lives. Don't worry, it does.
Great, great.
So,
I
um,
love that. I need
but
to I need to watch that.
it was
I
like,
haven't officially started my holiday movies yet,
yeah,
so
it was everything you would want in a cheesy, just like blow off the night, terrible or holiday rom-com family movie. It was great. It was amazing.
I love that. Speaking of Brandy, and I mentioned she's at the parade.
Yeah,
Uh, I had these two girls behind me who talked the entire time. I'd say
rude.
I'd say 90% of the time I agreed with them and or found them funny. And they were also only there about a third of the time. So 90% of the time they were there. And I was already annoyed with everyone else around me. So I was like, these people are fine.
Yeah.
But they were like, is that Brandy? Oh my God, it's Brandy. And they're like, why isn't Monica here? Didn't they have that whole song together? And they were like, I think they had beef once. And I took everything in me to be like, have you not been here the past 25 years? Like,
25 years.
they are not friends. They did
No.
one song where they hated each other
Yeah.
and they never didn't. Like, I think they did one
Yeah.
other thing together for press, but they weren't
No.
friends. Like, they're
No.
not sharing a float.
Also, Brandy, she still sings and she still acts, but she's trying very hard to be an adult image that is not what she was in the 90s. Like everything that she's credited in as now is as fully as Brandy Norwood. It is not just Brandy.
Yeah.
She's rebranding herself.
Mhm. Right. So we are not about to loop her back in with Monica. Not that there's anything
No.
wrong with Monica either, but we don't need to start the drama. There's no need for that.
No.
Let them live
No.
their own lives and be joyful.
I mean,
Um,
it's bad enough that the drama between Brandy's PR team and Whitney Houston's PR team is the reason why we never got an album for the Brandy Cinderella. I will
mhm.
still never forgive Whitney's PR team for that. It's fine. I'm not over it, and I haven't been. We do not need to bring Brandy into any other drama.
Exactly. Leave her be. Leave her be. Let her do her holiday movies
No,
and
yeah.
whatever else she
And
wants to do with
sing
them.
Christmas songs and ride on the parade and just be a stunning, beautiful woman. That's all.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I did want to tell you one other thing.
Yeah.
It's about 10 seconds long. But since, I've been using my backup notebook for everything, because I've finished my other one for Exorcist. So I bought a new notebook for when we start our next show. And this is a show and tell, guys. I'm sorry if you're not watching YouTube. It is Handbook for the Recently Deceased.
Oh
And it has little guys at the top.
my God, I love
And it has
it.
big pages in it. It's the best. And every page has
That's
the little worm
um
guy. going through
I
it.
love that so much.
So I'm waiting until, the new show starts, but I'm so excited. And
I
it's
love it.
just brought so much joy into my life.
I love that so
Um,
much.
I can't wait.
I
I also
mean,
bought this book. Yeah.
I only have this many pages left in my notebook.
You're
So
so close.
I will
Yeah.
have to. I mean, I also have stacks and stacks and stacks of unused notebooks, so it's just a matter of which one do I grab
Right.
next.
Right. Yeah. I'm out of that. I had a stack and now I'm out of them. Um, I also bought a book that I can't remember the name of it, Murderable or something. And it's
Okay.
like it was hip on the TikTok, I believe, or BuzzFeed, one
Mm,
of those. And
mm,
it's a puzzle book that I think you would love. And it's like, but
okay.
it's like an investigating one.
Ooh, I
I'll
like
tell you all
that.
about it once it gets here and I figure out more about it. But that should be in
Perfect.
this week too.
Perfect. See,
That was
I think about
my
people
goodness.
who do these shows and how many of them probably do their notes online and don't go through nearly as many notebooks as we do. But I could not take notes like that.
No, no, I would lose my mind. And also, like, I use my computer to record. So you want me to look at my notes on my computer while I'm trying to look at us, while I'm
Yeah.
using a different camera because my camera doesn't work on my laptop. What do you want from me? Like,
Right.
it's for the best if I just use a notebook.
Yeah. I only have so much technology at my disposal.
Exactly, exactly. Um,
Also, I apologize if you're watching this on YouTube. It is 11:45 at night and I am drinking wine, so I cannot guarantee that I will not just be yawning through the entire podcast. I'm fine. I enjoyed the episode. I'm just fucking tired.
I'm also tired, and every time one of us yawns, the other one will. So
It's
just hang in there.
so much
We're
yawning.
super stoked. And you know what keeps us even more stoked is our
Oh,
spirituality.
I think I was depressed when I wrote this one too.
Right? Can't wait. Bring us
Um,
down.
Ultimately, spiritual awareness unfolds when you're flexible, when you're spontaneous, when you're detached, when you're easy on yourself and others.
Well, that's not so bad.
No, that one's definitely less depressing than last week.
That's so much less depressing.
Yeah.
Ugh, I love it. Well, friends, countrymen,
Friends, Romans,
lend me your
countrymen.
ears. Romans, that's the word. I was like, there's a word in there somewhere. Lend me your ears because we have made it to the finale
Oh,
of the
man.
Exorcist series. We're at season 2, episode 10, and it is just titled Unholy.
Is it? I thought it was unworthy.
It is unworthy, and I
Oh,
wrote it
okay.
correctly on
Phew.
one page, and then when I look at the other page, I wrote unholy.
Oh, okay.
It's fine. Pick your favorite title, and that's what we'll say it is. Because that's how I do things now.
Yeah.
It aired December 15th of 2017. It was rated 8.2 out of 10. The number
Okay.
one song is still Rockstar. Thank God we're done. The
Thank
number
God
one
we're done.
movie is indeed The Last Jedi.
Yes. Because
And
this.
the number one book is People versus Alex Cross by James Patterson.
Oh, I know that one actually. I've never read a single James Patterson, but that one I've at least heard of.
I don't know the specific one. I'm just familiar with the Alex Cross series as a whole. But I mean, I'm sure I remember when this came out because it was 2017.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually when I was reading some James Patterson books, so I probably heard about it.
So rude. Sorry. Um, Dan's brother David just texted me and was like, I can't wait to talk Doctor Who with you. And I said, I'm not gonna be able to watch it till tomorrow, but yeah, I can't wait either. And he goes, ugh, fine. Cough, fake fan, cough.
It's midnight. What does he want to talk to you about?
So rude.
It's too late. It's too late for this nonsense. David, go to bed.
Go to bed, David. So rude.
So on this day, I have just things for you that I found. I had a hard time finding like very specific things. So The Last Jedi did indeed premiere today,
Yes.
which we've walked around a lot. SAG announced their first all-female presented awards show. That they did this in light of the Harvey Weinstein stuff.
Right.
And I mentioned this earlier in this season, but today is the official day that AOL ended AIM. So I mentioned that it was
So
coming, and we've made
sad.
it. The end of an era.
Yeah.
Era, not error. Sometimes it was an error. Who knows? Um,
My entire existence on AIM, my entire existence on AIM was an error.
yeah, that's fair. That's a fact. I wish we knew each other when we were on AIM. I feel like we would have just been so unhinged.
So unhinged.
Like, the best song lyrics, though. No doubt. We would have had the best song lyrics collectively.
I often had like The Used and My Chemical Romance.
Ugh. Yeah, I loved The Used. I always lean more towards Fall Out Boy and
See, I was a big Good
3 Days
Charlotte girl
Grace.
though. I was a
Oh,
big
Good Charlotte was my jam.
I was explaining to my mom that after COVID, Dave Navarro didn't come back to Ink Master, and I didn't know if I was going to be able to watch it again. And I go, but then you'll never guess who they replaced him as the host with. And she goes, yeah, I wouldn't have no fucking idea. Why would I know that? And I go, because Joel Madden. And she just starts cackling. And she goes,
Man has gotten around.
yeah. She just starts cackling and she goes, you know those people that no one my age has any right to know who they are, and I could not pick their face up out of a lineup, but you in particular have said their name so many times that I don't hesitate for a second in being able to identify them. And I was like, yeah.
I always wanted to be a Benji fan, but Joel did it all. I mean, man,
Joel's so hot. I can't.
I know.
And then I was telling my mom about how Nicole Richie and Cameron Diaz had family dinners together, and it's the weirdest thing in the world to me.
That's nice, though. That's
yeah, I love it.
Did I tell you about Dan Navarro? Speaking of the Navarros,
no,
he goes to Focal Lines every year, and he's like besties with my boss.
I love that. Can you introduce me to Dave?
I don't know. I don't think they hang a lot.
Probably not.
Like, they don't hate each other. I just think they like are busy and don't hang a lot. They're in different circles.
Yeah, but also like, how am I gonna get Dan to get your boss to get you to get me to meet Dave? Like, that is a.
Well, I know how to get to Dan, so you don't have to get through all of those. You just have to come with me.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So it's a lot less steps than that. Still, like, probably not going to happen, but a lot less steps than you're trying to make it be.
Perfect. Great. Love to see it.
The best. Oh God, I love Good Charlotte. Did I ever tell you? I'm so sorry. I'm derailing. That's how I learned the DNA strands for it's adenine, thymine, guanine, and cyanine or whatever.
Yeah.
I remembered it because it was at Good Charlotte was how I remembered it growing up in like school. I
love it.
That is the only reason I ever remembered what that was. And they're the best. We should have a Good Charlotte day one day.
I love Good Charlotte.
Anyways, today is not that day though.
No. Did you know Good Charlotte wrote half of 5 Seconds of Summer songs?
I did not. That's why I like them.
I used to make fun of Monica for liking Five Sauce so much, and then I found out that Good Charlotte wrote all their songs, and then I was like, shit, that means they're good.
Well, yeah, like all those boy bands that came out at that time, I don't enjoy them. I don't care for One Direction. I never did.
Yeah.
But I always like 5 Seconds Summer. That tracks.
Yeah, it's because the Madden twins wrote all their fucking music.
Yeah. And now I feel less like a moron for liking music. So great. Thank you for validating me as a person.
Always.
So something else thrilling is The Exorcist. Our director is Jason Ensler, who we've spoken about before. Our writers are David Grimm and Alyssa Clark, who we've spoken about before. Our editors are both new. They have been involved, it seems, but they are new to editing this, and they were like very specific. Like, one was a story editor and one was another type of editor. It wasn't just like, it was a lot going on. So one of them is Benjamin Haldschell. He is known for Fast 10. I don't know if you actually
say Fast 10. No, it's Fast 10.
I was like, I don't know if you say it as the Roman numeral or not. I'm not that hip. Prey, With or Without, and Alien Harvest, which is the 2019 one, 2021, the newest one.
Okay.
And then
It took me
Roma.
a hot second to figure out you meant alien, like alien.
Oh, yes, yes. Like he
Like,
did Prey, and then a few years later he did Alien Harvest. So,
got it. Cool.
and then Roman Valhaus is known for The Passage, Sleepy Hollow, Queen of the South, and Graceland. So he's obviously like worked with a lot of these people before already.
Yeah.
'Cause we've heard Queen of the South and The Passage a few times.
Yeah.
And then our star that we're going to talk about this week, I think we've actually made it through all of the characters in a
Yeah.
reasonable like succession. Like I don't think there's anyone left we haven't talked about, which means I nailed it. So you're welcome. So our
Yeah.
last one is Beatrice Kitsis, who plays Harper.
Perfect.
And she is known for the 2019 Child's Play, the 2020 Babysitters Club, and Project Blue Book.
Is she related to Edward Kitsis?
I don't know who that is.
Oh, he's one of the
So-
creators of Once Upon a Time. Eddie Kitsis and Adam Horowitz are the creators of Once Upon a Time. They used to work on Lost.
I was gonna say I recognize the name Adam Horowitz.
Yeah.
I don't know. You'd have to tell me because I can't look at my phone right now.
That's okay. I'm gonna look it up.
Some fun facts for you. She loves baking, which is right up my alley right now.
Great.
She modeled for Redfish before she was an actress, and she did a lot of theater at Bard on the Beach. So she did like Romeo and Juliet and etc. They only listed Romeo and Juliet, but she did more, it said.
I don't think she is. I think that's a different spelling of Kitsis.
Kitsos.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at hers right now, and then I'm gonna look at his. I think it's a different spelling.
Gotcha.
But I just heard that last name and I was like, she's a kid in Hollywood, maybe. She's related to somebody.
Sure. That tracks, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So
All right.
we start this episode with our friend Bennett. And he's in a suit at the hospital. And Anna is there, which we already know is a problem.
Yep.
I don't know that he ever said exactly what happened to her, but it's clear that he let her down some way from when he tried to be possessed the last time.
Correct. Yeah, no, it's not good.
Yeah. And so at this point, I'm convinced he's dead because I'm like, he has moved on. We are past everything. And that's why he's seeing his sister, who I have assumed is also dead. And we learn that he's basically left everyone he's loved too, just like all the other men that are exorcising people. But he is indeed not dead. He is just still in a coma. We learn that because the demons have found him and they are now in his room. And the nurse says that she hopes he wakes up soon, yada, yada. And once she leaves, we pan down and the demon goblet is below his bed, steaming up towards him. So, not.
I'm gonna save my comments about Father Bennett for later.
I thought you might. That's probably for the best.
Yeah.
So we come back now to where we actually left off last episode. Marcus is dragging Andy through the woods when Tomas and Mouse show up. And everyone is shocked to be in the same place. Not really.
So fucking awkward.
Marcus the only one.
So awkward. Everyone is acting like this is the worst thing that could have ever happened to them.
Yeah. And we see Marcus's look of shock and despair. And then we go to the credits.
Which are not the same.
Really.
Yeah.
We don't really have credits. We just have the title page with a dark background.
I wonder if they just needed to like add a couple extra minutes into the episode, and because of the way network formatting is, they cut the credits down because it was the finale and they needed that extra minute or two.
I could see that, or I was wondering if they were getting ready for like the next season and then they didn't have a next season. So they were gonna like, because sometimes like with the finale they'll change it.
Yeah, I think that usually a shortened one is just their only ability to add an extra minute into the episode.
That makes the most sense. Most sense. So, so we come back and they're in the woods. They have taken Andy to the abandoned house, and Marcus cannot let go that Mouse is there. Like he just keeps
He's
asking her
he's
why she's there.
freaking the fuck out.
Yeah. And because if you recall in his vision of her, she became a nun and is living her best life away. Which is obviously not what happened.
Which was a lie. Like we never
Yeah.
thought he actually thought that. He probably thought she was dead.
He probably did think she was dead. Yeah, you're probably right. But then they just start like having it out. Like they are saying the things that they never got a chance to say.
Yeah.
Um, and then out of nowhere, the Andy demon just smiles and says, "What a lovely day for an exorcism."
Fucking piece of shit.
I was like, okay, you are clearly in control of everything now. Like the demon had to go. Regular Andy was not wrong. Right? The demon had to go.
Yeah.
But we jump over the kids who are on the ferry headed back to the mainland. Of course, in the middle of like this god awful storm, because
Yeah.
what else would it be? And Sweet Verity starts asking if there's any type of like words or Bible verse she can say to like make things feel better. And she's asking Shelby, and it's a very sweet
It's a
moment.
very sweet scene. I was a little concerned when after they just kept panning to Rose's very terrified face, and I was very concerned that she was possessed.
I had the exact same thought.
Okay.
I was like, this woman accidentally got possessed going down into the well.
I was so scared.
That's not great. Um, but yeah,
I was actually, even last episode when she first said you should have left without me, I thought that was a threat, not a like fear.
yeah, yeah.
I'm
I didn't think
I'm
it then,
glad
but
that
I hindsight would have thought that, like
yeah,
after seeing her in this episode.
yeah, it
So
was it's very stressful.
yeah. So we go back to Andy and everyone's doing an exorcism. So we have all three on board. And when stuff just starts flying around the room, like
Oh, yeah.
they're almost like knocked over by what looks like a dresser or like a chair or something. And
Mm-hmm.
then Andy's body starts like floating and like levitating.
Yeah.
And then the ceiling starts like, getting ready to look like it's like caving in. Like we are not in a good situation.
No.
And Andy Demon just laughs. And then we see that a helicopter has made it to the island, which means that the kids have made it to the mainland.
Mhm.
And Mouse just immediately pulls a gun on Andy. She's like,
Yeah.
"Great, we gotta wrap this up."
We don't have time for this.
And she's like, "You know that I'm right, Marcus. You kill the host, you kill the demon." And he's like, "That's not how we do things here." And she's like, "It absolutely is." And
Well, she goes, how long does it normally take you to do an exorcism? Like we are losing. And for the amount of time it takes you to clear one demon out, 8 more people get possessed. Like we don't have time to feel bad. We have to win.
yeah, and he's like, "I get it, but we're exorcists, not executioners." And he
Yeah.
takes the gun from her, and the demon starts bringing up when Marcus has killed other people. He's like,
Yeah.
"You slit Simon's throat. You killed your father when he could have left the door. Like there were other options, and you didn't take them. You
Yeah.
only took the way out where you killed everyone." And he says
Yeah.
Marcus enjoys killing, and he goes through this whole thing. And Marcus says, which is very kind of sad for him. He's like, "You're the only one who's ever gotten it right. Like that, you're
Yeah.
scared that you're gonna like killing because your father was abusive."
Yeah.
And
It's like you're afraid that the violence is genetic.
yeah,
That's so
and
sad.
no. Then Tomas starts saying that like not only is this demon like there and not going anywhere, it's not escaping to go into someone else because Andy's trapped it inside of him. Like
Yeah.
Andy's actively not letting this demon out because he knows that it will just wreak havoc.
Right.
And then it was so sad. Marcus says, "I don't want to lose you," because Tomas is like, "I'll go in. I'm gonna take care of it." And he's like, "Then bring me back." And I was like, "Ugh, there's only so many ways that can work. None of
Yeah.
them are very likely."
No, but it was so sad. There was
And
so
then
many things that they could have done with this episode if they had known that it was the end.
I had a lot of feelings in this
Yeah,
episode.
and I'm gonna save a lot of my feelings about that for next week when we wrap up
Yeah.
and like talk about that. I'm gonna try to focus on just my actual feelings about this episode because I have so many feelings
Yeah.
about the whole deal.
I cried a couple of times.
I did too.
It just it was a rough episode. Um, so Tomas goes in, and I put no shade to Andy, but Mouse is absolutely right that he's not worth the whole human race. Like, especially because he's willing to die for it. Like,
Yeah,
it's not like he's like, please help me. He's like, hey, why don't you kill me so this demon also dies because it has to be
yeah,
gone.
yeah.
And but instead, Tomas goes inside, and so now we're in his head, and he starts seeing and hearing things, and he's inside Andy's home this whole time, and the demon whispers are coming back, and he's seeing like demon eyes. And as soon as the demon almost gets him, Andy comes through and just knocks the demon's head off with a bat out of nowhere.
Yeah, and but also the
Oh,
demon is like made out of sludge and it's disgusting looking.
yeah, it's that like black sludge that we saw in the beginning with the the
The
woman that we
fur,
saved in the first
yeah,
episode. Yeah, Caroline, is that her name?
maybe.
I don't know.
I
I
don't
don't remember.
remember. That feels
But
like
yeah,
a
so
year
it's
ago.
yeah, it was ages ago. Um, yeah. So Andy says that like he's like, hey, get out of here. He's like, I can't leave. He's like, there's no way for me to get out. I've done too much. Like because
Yeah.
he's feeling guilty for killing people, even though he wasn't in
Hmm.
control, so he
Yeah.
couldn't do it. Um, but he's like, we can't do this because I can't risk that this demon's going to go to another family because it's never going to
Hmm.
stop.
Yeah.
And he's just so kind. And then he was like, I need you to give you a message to the kids if in case this goes
Yeah.
south. And Tomas is
Yeah.
like, okay, tell me. And then we
Right.
pan out. And we go back to Mouse and Marcus. And Mouse is mad, of course, as we saw.
Yeah.
She's got to get a hold of her emotions. Like she gets too angry and starts acting. And like,
She does. She's
okay, like you gotta be a little more mindful.
she's a
Um,
mess. Yeah.
yeah.
She's a
And
straight
so
mess.
right. And she's like, how could you let him do that? And Marcus is like, I don't think you understand. I don't let him do anything. Like he was gonna do this one way or another. So this
Hmm.
is just kind of what's happening now. Um, and then this is where we learn that she came to find them because they're losing. And Tomas might be the only way out because he has some kind of special power that no other priest has,
Yeah.
which we obviously know. And then we go back into the mind, and Andy says he was like, it would be so nice if this was all a dream. He was like, and we could just wake up from it all and everything would be changed. And then the demon just grabs him and pulls him away out of nowhere. And then multiple demons start showing up. We get the iconic crab walking demon. It's just one thing after another. And then he runs away and goes and locks himself in a room. And Andy's there. And Tomas finally tells him, he's like, let go. He's like, you have to like go home. You have to like do better. Go find your kids. And Andy's like, no, this was my mistake. Like I let this demon come into me because I
Hmm.
was grieving. He's like, I let this happen.
I let them hurt my family. I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then um Tomas starts trying to exorcise the demon, and the pictures start dripping down the wall in a black sludge.
Can I tell
And
you, my mom has never watched the show before. Does not like horror, does not like anything scary. She came in the room and was sitting on the couch with me, only half paying attention. And then she just looks up at the TV and she goes, why are all the paintings melting? I go, Mom, they're inside like a hell prison trying to exorcise a demon. That's the least weird thing that could be happening right
right,
now.
out of all of the things, that's not the one to worry about.
No, no.
Sweet angel. Um, but as I said, we see this sludge pool gets really quiet and then becomes
Mhm.
a demon woman. And of course, Tomas tells her to take him instead. And
Which
that
is so stressful because that got somebody killed. down a flight of stairs before.
Yeah. And like he says to take him. And so Andy is coming back to himself because she's less holding on to Andy. But we're also
Yeah.
losing Tomas. And Marcus is trying to wake him up because he could see that we're losing him. And then
Yeah.
Andy's yelling for Marcus to just shoot her so that it all ends. And then finally he does. And it was almost too late with Tomas because his eye started turning into that third eye. And then we watched it disappear as the sludge died.
Yeah.
And then immediately after, the police arrive, but everyone's dispersed and it's just Andy who's died. That's all they find.
Yeah.
Whew. So we go back to Rose and she's giving her side of the story to the police. And she says that Andy killed Lorraine in self-defense and that he
Mhm.
never would have done that if it wasn't to protect the children. And they're
Right.
like, but he gutted her. And she's like, yeah, but it was to protect the children. And like, agreed, that's kind of a strong reaction.
Right.
But, who knows what you do for your kids. I don't have any of those.
Me either. I'm not quite sure that that is
A proper reaction.
what I would do for them, but
Yeah.
like I'm also not
Yeah.
sure it's not. Like,
Right. Like there's no way to know. But yeah, so then they're like, well, what about like Russ and Colleen? And she's like, yeah, he changed after that. Like that murder really did a number on him. And she was like, they're like, and he started attacking the kids. She's like, yeah, he was a different person then. Like it was just so kind and sad seeing her like,
yeah, but then they got mad at her. They were like, "But you didn't report it." She goes, and they were like, "Because he attacked you too." And she was like, "Yeah." And they're like, "But you didn't report it." She goes, "I was on an island in a storm with no cell service and no way off, trying to protect these kids. I did what I had to do, and now I'm here telling you what
yeah.
happened."
She's like, I thought the paperwork could wait. Like,
Yeah,
and it's like, oh yeah, it could. Um, and so we go back to the kids.
luckily, the agent does agree with her.
Yes, yes. He's like, oh yeah, yeah, no, that tracks. That was the smart.
Right. Correct.
Um, and so we go to the kids, and they've been sitting outside with Tomas, and Rose comes out, and she's like, all right, let's go, let's take care of things. Everything is going to be okay. And
Yeah.
then Tomas says that he has a message for them all, and this is where I just sobbed like the whole time. He tells Rose that Andy said that every kiss meant something every time. And he hoped that she never like didn't realize that he loved her. And then he just
Right.
goes kid by kid, telling them what he means to him. And like,
Oh,
uh, and he went like in order of like when they arrived,
the
like
earliest
backwards.
to the latest,
It's
yeah.
like
Or the
Harper.
latest.
He's even like, I know I didn't have you for very long, but like I'm still your dad. Like, oh,
Yeah.
heartbreaking. And he's like, you're always all gonna be a part of me, and you're all gonna like it doesn't matter where you came from. You're all gonna do great things. And
Yeah.
so um and
That
they're
was
all
the
like,
first time I cried.
yeah. So then we go back to Mouse, and Tomas has come up to talk to them, and Mouse is outside like at the truck getting things ready, and he's like, how is he? And she's like, go talk to him. And goes inside to talk to Marcus, and Marcus tells him that he's not going because he's like, tell me when you're ready to leave. And he's like, I'm not going. And he's like, what do you mean? And he's like,
Yeah.
he says he feels unworthy because he murdered a man. And
Mm-hmm.
he's
Well,
like,
and
it's not that I regret it, but I
he
can't
but
change it.
he's like, but it's a mortal sin. It's something I did wrong, and it's something that a demon could use against me. And I am not in a place where I can reconcile the why for the what, and I can't do this.
Yeah.
And he's
And
like, and he's also like, you know that it's been so long since I felt like I was actually a vessel for anything, and
mhm.
now that I have this extra baggage, I'm not useful to you.
Yeah. And Tomas keeps saying, he's like, I don't know how to do it without you. And he's like, you're an exorcist. Like, you can do it. Like, it's fine.
Yeah,
And then Marcus says he's leaving. And he goes out and tells Mouse to watch out for him. And he's like, I'm letting you guys carry this on. And
And oh my God, it's so funny. He's like giving her advice about the things that like Tomas needs and what he's good at and like why he's so important. And he goes, and don't ever let him drive. He's rubbish at it.
yeah. So it makes sense that we've never seen Tomas drive.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Tomas comes out and talks to her. And he's
Well, I
like,
mean,
yeah.
to be fair, if Tomas spent most of his life in inner city Chicago as like a poorer kid, he took the L train. He didn't need to know how to drive.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
So.
But yeah, and so Tomas goes and talks to Mouse. And he's like, it's okay. I know him. He'll come back. He's like, he's just needs a minute. And Mouse is like, I really don't think he is this time. Like, I think this is different. And he's like, well, I can't do it alone. And she's like, you don't have to do it alone.
To do it alone.
And so that's where we leave them. And then to Bennett, who wakes up with a third eye. And we see him wake up, and then we see a nurse wandering through the hallways. And then she goes to check on him, and as soon as she closes the door,
unnecessarily stressful scene. The scene of her walking through the hallway, I was unnecessarily stressful. And
these were the extra 2 minutes they needed to cut the credits for.
So if you listened to the podcast last week, you will know that I warned you that I was going to lose my shit on this podcast. And here it goes. There was no, just fucking no. I understand that Bennett struggled in the first place with the Valkyrie. We saw it thing in the first season when he almost got overtaken by it. And I understand that he was alone and sedated. But what I don't understand is how someone who is sedated can accept a demon in that way. It just doesn't seem correct, especially knowing the whole thing about how the demon didn't want to take Maria because she was sick. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever that the demon would choose Father Bennett in that situation when there's all these other people in the hospital and all these nurses walking around. It doesn't make any sense. Also, I get it. They're setting us up for some bullshit for next season that isn't going to happen. If this show had not been canceled, I would not have watched season 3.
So my answer to what you've said is I think he did accept it, but it was while he was in his coma state because his sister was there. And I think he was like,
I understand.
I'm not leaving you. And
no. That's that. I know that that's the scene and that's what they were saying. I just don't understand how the logistics of the things that they've already told us about the demons in the last 2 seasons lead to that. I don't think that they're congruent. I don't think that in a coma you can accept it. Like, that doesn't make sense for the way that they've portrayed the demons up to this point. This was one of the worst plot devices ever, just to get the main number 1 good guy to be a bad guy, to set up some fucking plot that we're now never going to get to see. And it is infuriating that they did this, because it just doesn't even make any sense. And you can say what you want about maybe having Father Bennett still on the team, overpowered, blah, blah, blah. It takes away from the rogue bunch of fucking fuckwads that we have as our actual exorcists, and he's too much a part of the church. But everything about it was inconsistent and contrived and forced and ruined everything they've set up about his character. And I was livid.
I do think it was forced. But I think, like, one of the reasons they still were okay with going with him, even though they did with Maria, was because Maria had cancer, and cancer is long lasting. It's not something that, like, the demon could cure. Whereas this was more of a physical, like, artificial wound. Like, once the sepsis got out of him, he was fine. And I think they did, if they were going to keep this line going, they were gonna have to give one of the exorcists. One of them was gonna have to be possessed, and they didn't allow for anyone else. I think it would have been better to have another character, but we would have had to know them before, or even if they did it with Mouse, it would have made sense to make Mouse the possessed one, because she's already been possessed before, but then that would have been too close to Angela's storyline.
Right. But now also getting back into my severe anger, at this point, everything that we've seen about these demons, and especially the integrated high level demons, they have never mindlessly killed. They have always had plots. They have always killed people in power. They have always had reasons for their kills. What in the absolute fuckery was he coming out with garden shears out of the goddamn hospital to chop a nurse's head off in the weirdest fucking jump scare shit scene I've ever seen in my life? For what reason other than to show us that he was really possessed?
Yeah, that was a terrible scene.
So bad.
And like, I think it was meant to be a jump scare, but it wasn't even like intense enough to be a jump scare scene.
I mean, I genuinely gasped, but I was also so angry at that point that like I didn't.
I mean, I was caught off guard, but I felt like it was because also like you don't see what happens. You just see him run out with the shears, and then you see the chopped off head of the statue.
Yeah.
Like, so it was lacking some elements. If you want like a real good jump scare, it's lacking a bit there.
Yeah. So, and it just, all of this, and now knowing that the show got canceled and you'll never see a resolution to that, they have just taken one of the best characters of the show and turned his entire legacy in the show to fucking trash by giving him the worst ending possible.
Yeah, because I think that like this is something we can talk about more next week too, but like I think that his storyline would have probably been the best when it was resolved in the next season.
Yeah.
I think it would have. I don't think it would have been as tragic of a season as you think it would have been with him starting out as a demon, because I think he would have been like the one that turned things.
No, for sure. And I think that's probably where they were going with that. I would love to see like what they actually had planned and thought about for season 3. But I'm just so angry that character, which was such a good character, ends with such a terrible ending, because it was a horrible place for him to leave it, which is not necessarily their fault because they didn't know they were going to be canceled, but it was also just a very badly done scene, point blank, period. And so
and we've seen so many other possessions now at this point in this show that were not that poorly done.
No, like, and it just is so unreasonable. Like, think about Andy's possessed by this crazy powerful demon that has killed generations of families, and he still methodically and carefully plans it and doesn't hurt any of the kids for months after he's possessed. You're telling me that Bennett, one of the highest people in the church, who's probably got one of the most powerful demons in him, is just going to like jump scare cut a chick's head off? Like, it just is so illogical.
And like it truly is, because like he was integrated, so he was more possessed than Andy was throughout most of it. But also like when you look back at like Father Simon, or you look back at these others, they are so composed because they're pretending to be a regular person. So like the reaction should have been
the difference between Angela's handling of having a demon and Casey's handling of having a demon, because of the integration, is so clear that the demon is just in doing things in Angela's body and Casey's out of control. Why is Bennett, the most integrated of all, out of control? It doesn't make any sense.
No, he should have been very composed.
So angry about it.
And he should have walked out of that hospital like he owned the place and like everything was perfectly fine. Like 100%. I agree. That was a poor choice. A poor choice, to say the least.
And you guys all know how I feel about them fucking up Father Bennett's story. I was livid.
I don't think had there been another season, I don't know that I would have hated it being Father Bennett, because we did see weakness in him, and because I think he would have come out stronger. But
I'm sure they could have done something really good with it. It's just part of it is that I'm angry that I won't ever get to see it resolved, and part of it is that I'm angry that that's how they chose to do it, because it just is. It feels disingenuous.
Yeah, because you're right. He would not have been out of control or excessively violent for no reason.
No,
that's not how it goes. Because I guess the highest integrated one before him was Father Simon, I guess.
Yeah, or at least that we saw. We don't know who all in the other like rest of the
Right, but
church
like
was,
the
but
ones we have
yeah.
experience with that like we would have been able
Hmm.
to base it off of. And he should have
Correct.
been better than him. Because
Hmm.
he came from the Vatican, so he should have been even more like poised than Father Simon.
Yes.
So
A
100%,
hundred
hundred
percent.
percent, I agree. Um, but after this scene happens, 3 months later, um, Rose goes to see Truck, and this is also very sad. She's like,
Oh,
"How are things?" And he's like, "I'm not sleeping." He's like, "No one will talk to me, and I'm scared all the time." Like and they won't turn the lights off, and it's so sad, so sad.
I
But
literally like cried for this entire thing all the way till the resolution of this part of the story.
I know. And then
Like,
she tells him, she's like, "I found a temporary home." She's like, "I don't know if it's permanent. Hopefully it will be one day, but it's just, I think I found a good situation for you." And he's like, "Okay." And he drives up, and she's like, "Now it's a new foster parent. This is the first time she's done it, so it'll be easy with her. Like, you're gonna be fine." And he like walks in and he walks around, and then you just start seeing pictures
of
of Rose
her son of a
everywhere.
bitch.
And then you turn the corner and all
Well,
of
and
the other kids are there.
he goes, wait, is this your house? And she said, yeah. And he goes, she goes, would that be okay? And he just like nods his head and he's crying and I'm fucking crying.
Yeah.
And then it says indistinct chatter, or like the captions say
Yeah.
indistinct chatter. And he walks around the corner and it's all of them like bickering and getting a welcome home sign. And my favorite part is when Shelby goes, don't call me dude, bro, to
Yeah.
Verity for no fucking reason. But then they all just like jump on him and give him like a giant hug pile. And then you see Morty is
I was
there
gonna say even
too.
Morty's there. Ah, it's
And
just
I just
perfect.
cried so much.
I cried too. And now we know that like Rose is gonna take care of them all,
Mm.
and they get to be in a home together.
And I
And
go, and I literally looked at my mom and go, at least that has a beautiful ending because I don't know that anything else good will ever happen. But
and
then the
that's
next
why
scene happens.
I was gonna say, and I thought that's where we were ending, and I was gonna be okay with that for what we had. Like, but it's knowing we weren't gonna be able to resolve anything, like just to leave everything else where it was. But
Yeah.
alas, we go to Marcus, who's at the docks, and he's standing out there, and all of a sudden he starts hearing a low grumbling, and he starts saying he's listening, and he's hearing, and then he just says,
Well, he starts hearing a low grumbling, and then if you notice, there was like the way that they did it was actually really beautiful because there was just like a slight break in the clouds, and the light
mm,
between the clouds just kept getting brighter and brighter so subtly
yep,
until it showed him from behind with just like this broken line of bright light
yep.
in front of him in the water, and he said he's listening, and then
And then
he
he
called
just
out for
says,
Tomas.
"Tomas." And I was like, is he supposed to be getting back to where he can hear God again?
Well,
Like, is
that was the voice of God, like
and
talking
he
to him.
needs to
That's
go
what that
find
moment was.
Tomas to like go do this with him, and the three of them are going to be this like trio that's going to save the world.
No,
But
because the
we'll never
show's
know.
gone
We'll never
forever.
know. Um, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't even look to see if there was trivia. Um,
We have we can talk about that next week if we need
yeah, I
to.
assumed there wasn't, and if there is, I will add it to next week's episode when we do our wrap up. So
Yeah.
stay tuned. But yeah, so that is the end. Um, for what it is. So who did you want to punch in the face?
Um, I would like to punch the demon who left the thing under Tom Father Bennett's bed in the face. That's who I want to punch.
Yeah,
There's, I'm
that's
sure,
fair.
other options, and I could be a lot less aggressively specific with that, but that's my
No, I'm glad
feelings.
you were because I'm gonna go with the demon that was inside of Andy. And so I don't know who else I would punch. I feel like everyone else like
Right.
didn't really do anything wrong and was just trying to stay alive
Fair
themselves.
enough.
So who's your MVP?
That one is harder. That one's
That one is
much
harder.
harder.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have to go with Rose though.
Yeah.
kept them together, and she did what she had to do for those kids.
Yeah, well, I was gonna go with Rose if you hadn't, so I won't do that.
I
So
almost went with Truck just because he made me cry. But
I know. I think I'm gonna go with Andy
that's a good
for
one.
leaving, sacrificing what he had to, but still making
Yeah.
sure that his kids knew they were loved.
Yeah. That's a really
Um,
good one.
so I think Andy's gonna be mine. Um, so do you have any final thoughts for today before we close out and
No, I don't
get
think
ready?
I do. I went off on my tangent. I had all my strong feelings. But I think everything else that I really want to get into, I want to talk about next week when we have a little bit more time to like
Deep dive.
go into a deep dive. Because I think that nothing else I have to say is about us the singular episode. It's about the story as a
Yeah,
whole.
yeah, that's fair. I have a lot of that
Yeah.
as well. So,
Yeah.
all right. Well, if anyone is has thoughts, feelings, concerns, anything really, you can email us deathandaliens@gmail.com. You can find us on all of the social media at Death and Aliens. You can find me specifically at CE Cloud 13.
Follow me everywhere at EMKAY_superstar.
And we will see you on Sunday for the finale of season 4 of Stargate.
Yes.
So see you then.
Bye.